name is Marcus Wiesner, and I'm here with Bruce Brown, a CPA leadership coach here today. And today we're discussing Bruce Brown's new leadership program specifically for CPAs. So if you're trying to improve your professional life, gain more leadership skills, and take your career to the next level by becoming the kind of person that people see as a natural-born leader, then this could be one of the most interesting, exciting, and overall helpful videos that you've ever watched. That's because Bruce Brown is a John Maxwell certified leadership coach and the only leadership coach out there doing this specifically for CPAs and bringing them cutting-edge leadership skills that are applicable to their industry. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to City Councilman, a multiple entrepreneur, CPA, and John Maxwell certified leadership training coach, Bruce Brown.
Well, thank you, Marcus. It's a pleasure to be here today with you.
The pleasure is all mine, Bruce. So I thought that, the person at home probably has a lot of questions on their mind, Bruce. So what I'm going to do here today is ask some of those tough questions and allow you to explain what CPA leadership coaching is all about. Fair enough?
Sounds good. Shoot away.
All right, perfect. Well, first of all, Bruce, why don't you tell the viewer at home exactly what qualifies you to be a leadership trainer for CPAs?
You bet. I started off my career as a CPA in public accounting, and there just wasn't a lot of leadership training available at that time, and I was in one of what they called the Big Eight, which is a multinational firm. So I mean, it was a big time deal, and they just didn't invest in the training of leadership at that time. And then I went down the controller track where I was a private accountant for different companies, and there you're pretty much on your own, and there wasn't any leadership training that I could find. And as I progressed through my career, I wound up being a chief financial officer for a big company, and I started doing leadership training on my own because all of a sudden when you're in the CFO position, you're in the C-suite, and so you're in there with all the decision makers, and I felt that I understood some of the principles of leadership, but I really wanted to dig deep and get into more in-depth study of leadership, and that's what turned me on to John Maxwell and how I got started with John Maxwell, and that was probably about 1990. I subscribed to his CD-ROMs back in those days, and you'd get one once a month and a workbook to go through, and so I just started going through those. I started reading his books, and about, 3 years ago, I decided to make the leap, and I went out to his training session, and I became a certified John Maxwell speaker and coach. So what I think what I can bring to the table is working my way all the way up through the accounting profession to the pinnacle in the private side, which is being a chief financial officer, and without any leadership training other than what I dug up on my own. And I think it's time for me to start giving back to the profession and helping younger accountants, which I always enjoyed when I have young auditors come in. It was just help to train those youngsters. Oh, they're 30, but I thought they were young. But anyway, just to train those into how to get along with the CFO and how to talk to me and how to get the things they wanted to them. And I've always have been trying to take CPAs under my wing and show them what I know, and I think this is just one more way to expand on that.
Excellent, Bruce. Perfect. So I guess the next question that really comes up, I think, is why would someone at home want to learn about leadership specifically? I mean, especially if they're a CPA, what value does leadership really bring to the table? You
mean other than the money?
Well, is that the main value that they're going to take away here, Bruce?
No, but it is one part of it, because the more leadership you take on, the more responsibilities. Of course, your pay becomes consumer, but that's not the only reason. The people that get into leadership for just the money are getting into it for the wrong reason. When you start moving up the leadership track or the ladder, you accumulate more responsibility, and with that more responsibility, all of a sudden it seems like you're working ungodly hours. I know when you go from being a staff accountant to a senior accountant, then you have to review all the staff accountants' work plus all your work, and so you just are basically working all the time. And part of leadership is learning how to delegate and how to delegate correctly. Learning to lead is literally the most transformative professional experience you can have. Now, I know that's a bold claim, so let me back that up. When you start out as a level 1 leadership position, let's say, your only way to become a leader is to become appointed as one. That means someone else has total control over your destiny, and unless you're lucky and they like you, you won't get another position based solely on your merit. And that's just the way it works. If you progress up the scale towards the level 5 is a completely different ballgame than level 1. Level 5 is enjoying massive influence across the board wherever you go, being incredibly independent in your circumstances, and as like John Maxwell likes to say, leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. Level 5 is just having the capacity to go out and just start your own venture with near 100% odds of success. And if you use that within a large company that already exists, then you'll be able to rise to the top undoubtedly. Another benefit of becoming a better leader and growing in your leadership abilities is at some point in your career, you might want to branch off and do some other things. You might find that you've reached to where you wanted to get, being an accountant. You may be a senior manager, and you just like to see that partnership track is just not where you want to go, so you roll out on your own. And that's where the leadership really comes in handy, because as an owner of 4 companies right now, I use those skills every day. I also have a lot of employees that I lead, so those leadership skills that I've learned along the way play into that, how to deal with employees. I'm also an elected city councilman here in Gillette and also a municipal judge in a neighboring county. So you can use that leadership skills to not only to advance your career, but also make your community a better place. And people look for leaders all the time because there's just not enough people willing to step up these days, it seems like, and take the bull by the horns and get things done. That's a pretty big, broad stroke of what the things you can do with leadership, and that's exactly the kind of value I see myself bringing to other CPAs, is be able to explain tell my story and tell them how I got to where I got through leadership training, and have them pick and choose what they might take out of that as a takeaway. But that's where then the training comes in, is where it's a very structured training where we give them the tools, the fundamentals like blocking and tackling, on how to develop your leadership skills as you go.
Okay, Bruce, so are these really the right skills for CPAs? I mean, an MBA is one thing because, they're kind of management degree. They're kind of, supposed to be managing people, but for CPAs are different, aren't they, Bruce?
The next step up from there is to be a manager. And managers start interacting more with the clients and still reviewing the work that's being prepared by the people underneath them. But they need to be able to, at this point, learn how to delegate, because they'll have a group of seniors working underneath them, which those seniors will have staff accountants working underneath them. So all of a sudden, they go from maybe managing a staff of 3 to doubling that and managing a staff of 6 once you become a manager. So those leadership skills of understanding how to develop the leaders behind you become more important at the management level. And then once you become a senior manager, that's the last step between becoming a partner. And at that senior manager level, then you take on a group of managers who had the group of seniors, who had the group of staff accountants. So now you've basically quadrupled the number of people that are reporting you. So yes, it is very important to understand that difference between being a good accountant, because as accountants, we like to turn out good work, good accurate work in a timely manner. So that keeps us down in the trenches more than where we would like to be. And artificial intelligence is getting better and better every day. You can Google stuff and it blows me away what you get back now, where before when you try to punch something into Google, it'd take forever to find anything.
So Bruce, does that mean that CPAs as we know them are on their way out?
The ones that don't want to change, yeah. And that's where the need for that leadership is coming in. A trend that's happened over the last 10 years that we haven't seen before is more CFOs are becoming CEOs of companies, and not only in private companies, but also in publicly traded companies. The background that you learn as a CPA and the numbers and the analytics and all the analysis that you do, you understand that business inside and out. You might be a little bit weak on the operations side, but you can learn that. But if you don't take the time to go through the leadership training and improve your leadership skills, you won't get those opportunities to move up to the manager or to the controller or to the CFO and have the opportunities that open up because you're a strong leader too, not just a pencil pusher. So yes, things are definitely changing.
I think you've painted a really clear picture here about how this can be applicable to CPAs, especially in the future. And so I guess, Bruce, if the person out there watching this today wants to learn more about leadership, then where would be the best place for them to start? What should they do next?
They should start studying, because personal growth it's work. It just doesn't happen. We want to think that we can sit around with a positive attitude and things will get better, but personal development is a commitment. You have to make a commitment to becoming a better leader, whether or not that's from reading books or to taking seminars or signing up for different classes. You've got to have that commitment to want to improve yourself. So it's not just going to happen to you. You've got to go out there and actively seek training to become a better leader. And also, I guess you can watch those successful folks around you that you want to emulate. And if you're fortunate enough to have somebody mentor you, that's another great way to move up that leadership track.
So let's talk about that. Mentorship, where does that fit into this picture, you think?
Well, the mentor would have to have that right mindset, because a lot of people really want to help other people. And when you're seeing somebody struggling down on a lower level and the organization, and you've been there, and you think, dude, if you were just doing like this, it'd be so much easier. And you come over and say, hey, I tried it this way and it sure worked out a lot better. And all of a sudden people like that. And then the more people come to you and you become more of a mentor, then all of a sudden you are becoming a leader. But just because people are looking up to you and say, boy, you're a great leader or whatever, you're not going to be a great leader unless you take the time to invest in yourself and invest in leadership training. Here are some questions that I usually ask folks just to check out to see if they really want to make that commitment to leadership. And I'd like to ask these questions here. And one is, aren't you tired of, I preface all these with, underperforming in your job and feeling overwhelmed with the pressures of your position and having employees reporting directly to you? Aren't you tired of not being considered for leadership positions and being passed over on every opportunity? And aren't you tired of not getting the recognition, the respect, the influence you feel you deserve from your subordinates, even just everyone at your company? And wouldn't you like to ensure that your future is better than your past results? So if they answer yes to those questions, I say, well, we got a pretty good candidate here that really wants to go forward with some leadership.
Okay. Well, Bruce, I know that somebody watching this right now, if they answered yes to some of those questions, it doesn't really sound like good news.
Well, yeah, it is good news because it's fixable. So if you were, because those are indications that you're on leadership level 1. You're starting from ground zero. Now, if you had been in leadership for 15 years and you answered yes to those questions, then we have a problem, because then that takes retraining, which is always harder. But the good news is, yes, we can fix this, and we can help you become a better leader.
Okay, so if somebody is facing those challenges, how would they develop their leadership ability?
Well, we're already doing that a little bit by watching this video. So just the fact that they are here is a great step in the right direction. I can honestly say I'm proud of them for making it this far. If they look at the leadership test and they got their results, that's another huge step in the right direction. In the report, they will receive 3 laws of leadership, and that gives them a big leg up. But I like to let them know that there are actually 21 laws of leadership.
Right.
So the 3 laws that our viewers know so far from the leadership test are a great start. And then the interesting thing is, even though you learn all 21 laws, it really doesn't mean all that much. What I mean is, leadership is not a rote learning experience. It is something that has to be put into practice and made real. If you only know something in your mind, and right here, that's one thing, but to actually practice it on a daily basis, that's an entirely different beast. So the best way for any person to learn leadership is to learn those skills directly from someone and have that knowledge passed down directly in a personal way. That's why I'm talking to you today, and because I am a CPA and I can help with the practical application and real-world examples for CPAs, so you can put this stuff into practice and make it real.
So Bruce, what is the best way to learn from you directly then?
Well, that's a great question. And the best way to learn from me directly is to attend my CPA Leadership Conference that will be coming soon. As our viewers watching this right now, there should be a button where they can register for the conference and really learn a heck of a lot about leadership in one day. I mean, if you were to go to one of those non-CPA specific leadership conferences in the U.S. every year, some of these conferences cost thousands of dollars. And I know because I've attended a few. And then afterwards, you have to figure out how all this applies to your life as a CPA. With the CPA Leadership Conference, you'll pay less than 1/10 of the price of some of those bigger leadership conferences. Plus, you'll skip the second step of trying to figure out how to apply it in your day-to-day life.
So why are you offering it for such a low price?
That's a great question, Marcus. To be perfectly honest, this is the first time that many of these CPAs are going to be seeing or hearing of me. So for the viewer, that makes it a little easier to make that smaller commitment to try out one of my products. Secondly, I want to set it up in their minds that everything they do with me is worth at least 10 times the money they've paid for it. I want them to see me as the jackpot, as their life preserver, as their secret weapon. Basically, that everything I do is a no-brainer for them to be part of because they will get so much out of it.
So how would you describe the specific business value that one of these CPAs will be taking back from this course? What are they going to have when they go home?
That's a great question, and I'm going to answer it with a question. Are you ready to enjoy natural and easy influence over others that helps you achieve your goals? Are you ready to gain recognition across the board in your business that will be the next easy choice for leadership positions? Are you ready to shine out from all the rest with a completely unfair competitive advantage your peers won't even be able to wrap their heads around?
I like that one. So they won't even know what's different. They'll just know that you've become better.
Exactly. And finally, are you ready to become the CPA of the future and have the future of a leader rather than be caught up in the winds of change and left behind in the dust? If so, then you will want to sign up to be an attendee at my next workshop. You can find the details of the pricing and the locations below. And we usually start advertising in advance so that you can get time off to come. But it's going to be a great time. You're going to get a lot of mileage out of it, way more than a few miles of the travel that you've spent to get to it. And here are some of the other benefits we're trying to go over in the leadership. We're going to learn to lead and inspire others in an effortless and awe-inspiring way. That will make you a natural choice for the next promotion. You're going to learn how to produce results that amaze your superiors and attract the best talent. When you're a leader, attracting talent will allow you to make even more money and have more influence. Instead of being threatened by talent, you want to develop it so they can help you achieve your goals. You're going to learn to speak from your team, and that means you'll be more prepared than ever to speak and won't be afraid of being put on the spot again.
Public speaking is a huge fear.
Yes, it is. And we're going to help you get over that fear of being the center of attention and loosen you up a little bit. Plus, we're going to be giving you tons of real-life examples relevant to CPAs. Above all, with this workshop is going to be intensely practical and applicable to your daily life. And there's much, much more to be revealed in this workshop. You're going to be able to take this and turn it into a real professional asset. This is the best thing for any CPA's career right now, and you definitely should sign up now.
Thanks, Bruce. So I guess somebody out there might be asking themselves, what would be a reason that they'd want to sign up right now?
Well, in 5 years, they might still be in the same job, wondering what happened while their peers are getting promotions. That's one reason. Or they might be struggling to keep a position. I don't really know what the future holds, but I do know that many of the detail work is going to AI and software or being outsourced for less money. So those who can effectively lead are the ones who will be 100% safe in the future, and those who only follow are going to find it harder and harder to make it. So they can either become a great leader now while this trend is still in its early stages, or they may look back on this 5 years from now and it's practically too late to do anything about it. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time to plant a tree is today. So plant those trees, people. Sign up for the CPA Leadership Conference. You won't regret it.